Today on the Chat and Chew Show.
Like, I didn't have a situation where my dad wasn't home tucking me in each and every night. And what that plays on my daughter's head, even though she's smiling on the surface, I don't know how she's feeling internally.
Yeah.
So just making sure that I'm always having those conversations and just showing up as like, Dad cares, Dad's here.
When I saw this pumpkin spice pancake recipe on my Instagram stories a few weeks ago, I wasn't sure I would enjoy it, but it's delicious. The pumpkin spice is subtle, and the pumpkin and buttermilk in this recipe create thick, fluffy, and filling pancakes.
In the words of John F. Kennedy, children are the world's most valuable resource and its best hope for the future. That said, there's no wonder why so much time and energy must be thoughtfully put into raising children, maybe even more so when co-parenting. Today we're joined by father, husband, entrepreneur, and fellow podcaster, Mark Foster. Mark became a father to his now teenage daughter, Layla, at the age of 21. Initially, he tried to maintain a romantic relationship with his daughter's mother and high school sweetheart in hopes that they could raise their child together. Later, they would come to the mutual decision to uncouple and focus on co-parenting. At 27, Mark married his wife of 8 years and became a father for the second time to Mark Foster III. We're back with part 2 of the do's and don'ts of co-parenting. If you haven't had a chance to see part 1, it's worth going back to see what all the chatter is about. Enjoy.
So that leads us to this next part then, that, our show is all about doing relationships better and all that. And so if someone's in a co-parenting situation right now, you already said one thing I thought was huge is like, seek to understand before you,
Right.
blurt out your opinion on it. So that's one of the things that you would say to a person who's in a co-parenting situation right now.
Most definitely. That's one of the things, again, like I said, there's just some relationships in general, and that goes back to what you said earlier in the intro, is having a relationship with yourself and understanding yourself is just so vital to me. Because once you're good, nothing outside of you can really shake you. You're going to have moments where the wind is very hard and it might budge you. But for the most part, you're just not taking the things personal, and just understanding that everybody is living life through their lens and they're entitled to that, and the biggest thing is the more I look at it as like a data sense, the more data I can get from you, the more I can kind of like sort through that data to get what I need out of it. Then I can also have a better way of relaying what I need to relate to you, as opposed to feeling like we're on opposite ends. It's like, no, we're after the same thing. You know what I'm saying? But before I'm willing to take the back seat and allow you to just go ahead and tell me what it is that how do you see things? You know what I mean? So again, taking that time, and that comes from having the awareness of understanding that, like, I don't have all the answers.
Right.
Being humble enough to just say that and everything, regardless of how I may feel in that moment, I don't have all the answers, but it started with me working on me first and me establishing my relationship with myself first.
Yeah.
And once I was able to focus so much more of my energy on me, my relationship with others, whether it be my daughter, whether it be my mom or my wife or my child's mother, it just became so much more easier.
Yeah. It's so interesting. When you listen, you discover.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If you just let people talk, you discover.
And I think it's also a combination though, because I think what's important is not taking stuff personally.
Yeah.
I think like you can listen, but then also our emotions kick in right away. And then we hear you, but we also are like you said, we're taking it in through our lens, right? Our emotions kick in and we start to almost kind of skew what you're actually saying.
Yeah. And to me, I actually had this prepped in my head. I hope I don't come across chauvinist or sexist, but I believe I don't think this will come across that way. But just in case, I wanted to say, that's not my intent. But I really truly think, especially as far as like men, it's our job to lead, right? And I'm a big believer of like, we have to be thermostats and not thermometers. And thermometers react to the environment. It has no choice. If it's hot, it's going up. If it's cold, it's going down. And for me, my whole model is like, just be the thermostat. So like, even if the temperature of the conversation is like getting like intense, it's my job to lower it back down. You know what I'm saying? Like, I won't put that on somebody else, because at the end of the day, I have no control over that. And my sanity is so much more important that I'm willing to go ahead and be the person that's going to grab the steering wheel and say, oh, no, we're going this way. You know, and it's not about forcefully doing it, but doing it in a loving way where that person feels like, again, they feel as if you do understand where they're coming from. You may have a difference of opinion, but you at least acknowledge that everybody just wants to be seen. You know, in all aspects of life. And the moment we're able to get outside of ourselves and wanting ourselves to be seen, and we can see everybody else, they're a lot more receptive to see you also.
It's good. So far you said listen, pretty much. Listen to try to understand how everybody's feeling who's a part of this. And then the second one was lost that quick.
I heard don't take it personally.
Don't take it personal. Oh my God.
I heard don't take it personally.
And just being again, I like the way our phrase is be a thermostat, be the person that controls the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
At all times, no matter what the relationship is and everything, just know that like, if things are not going in the direction that you see fit, if things are just getting a little too hot, just cut it down to 70, 65, you know?
Right.
Just knowing that we have that control. It's a choice of ours. We can choose to match them, but it's like, you know, what is that? And again, like me, I try to, this is a tip, try to begin before any situation with the end in mind. What do I ultimately want? If we're going down this path, and this path seems as if we're trying to get to California, but all of a sudden it seems like we're going to freaking Canada, like, okay, no, we have to detour at some point in time. And again, it's your job because you know what the destination is. You know what I mean? And more often than not, I've seen with that approach, this is going to sound so messed up. I claim to be Geppetto, okay? Everybody else thinks that they're making choices, but like ultimately, I'm just playing puppet master to a degree. It's
but
not.
Now they know.
I'm sorry, but like, and I say that like, you know, tongue in cheek. I'm being like, you know, facetious with it, but it's like at the end of the day, I think we sometimes, and whether it be the male or the female, we fail to acknowledge how much control we actually have. The excuse we use is, well, I'm human. I'm you know, it's like, yeah, you are. No one's saying be a robot. But like, don't strip away the power you have.
Can I ask the question as a non-child person having?
Stuff.
Oh.
Non-having child person.
That's the term for it. Non-child person having. What do these, because we're talking, and I think these are great points, but I'm wondering, what do these conversations look like with, you know, the mother of your child, your wife and the mother of your child? Like, how does that all look? You know what I mean? I just can't even picture it myself.
I don't know. That's a question I don't even think that you can really sum up in words. Like, it looks a lot different now, right? So I recently went through losing like a lot of weight and getting a better relationship with food, because I used to stress eat. I used to eat out of stress, man. And my child's mother used to be one of the biggest culprits of that, or the biggest reasons why I swear to you, I would be on my way from work and the phone would ring and I would see it's her. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, what is it now, right? I haven't had the conversation, but that's what I'm thinking. And as soon as I get off the phone, or at least I'm thinking in my head, you know what I'm going to do to appease this? I'm going to Chick-fil-A. And it's just like, what does that have to do with anything, bro? Like, it just compounds your problem, which is you're trying to lose weight. So, like, that's what that used to do for me. But nowadays, she calls and it's just like, okay, yeah, she's calling. Let's figure out. You know what I'm saying? So, at one point in time, the way that it used to look, my description of it might be warped because of how I used to feel about the situation. So I couldn't even give you a fair answer. Nowadays, they're literally just conversations. You know what I mean?
Now, a delicious word. Let's chew.
Hey, it's Carla, aka Home Cook K. So I want to share something a little controversial with you. I'm not a huge fan of pumpkin spice. So when I saw this pumpkin spice pancake recipe on my Instagram stories a few weeks ago, I wasn't sure I would enjoy it, but it's delicious. The pumpkin spice is subtle, and the pumpkin and buttermilk in this recipe create thick, fluffy, and filling pancakes. To start, you want to whisk your wet ingredients. 1 cup of pumpkin puree, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1.5 cups of buttermilk, and 2 egg yolks. Next, combine your dry ingredients. 1 cup of cake flour, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of pumpkin spice, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. Slowly add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredients while whisking. Next, in a separate bowl, whisk your 2 egg whites until they're frothy. Then add them to the batter. Stir the batter until the egg whites are incorporated. Now add butter on a hot pan or griddle. Over medium-low heat, pour 1/3 cup of the pancake batter into the pan. Cook until you see bubbles in the batter, about 3 or 4 minutes. And then flip and cook for another 2 or 3 minutes or until it's golden brown on the other side. Repeat this step until you used all your batter. And you're done. You have a tasty, fall-flavored breakfast dish perfect for brunches this holiday season. For a vegan version of the recipe, replace the dairy butter with vegan butter and use your favorite vegan egg replacer. To make vegan buttermilk, add a tablespoon of lemon to a cup of soy milk. I hope you enjoy.
I was going to say, Roxanne, to that is that emotions are high already. You haven't even talked yet. Emotions are high.
Yeah.
The moment you hear, just imagine you dating someone and you don't know that they have a child and you guys are really it's starting to move your relationship and you liking him, he liking you, and it's getting closer. And then he says to you, oh yeah, by the way, I have a 4-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, I have a 2-year-old. Your head goes to, is the mother still involved? Mm-hmm. Of course the mother's still involved. It's my child, right? And so now you're thinking, does the mother still want the father? So it's a lot that's going on in your head as a person who's dating someone like this. And so now the conversation, so the boyfriend has to convince you there's nothing going on. So your emotion is high. So he has to convince you there's nothing going on. So let's just say the baby's mother still wants a relationship with the dad. And the dad has to convince her, we ain't got nothing, but I want to see my child. So emotions are high. So I can relate to you, Mark. The phone, your phone rings, you pick up your phone and it's her, him, whoever. And you're like, oh shoot, right? It's high. So if you are immature, that could go, those conversations can go south every single time.
So true.
Once you become mature and more self-aware and like all the things you just told us, Mark, listen and all of that, then it can be better, but it can be difficult. Then you add in the mix a child who, why do I have to live in 2 houses?
Yeah.
I mean, these conversations and they are ongoing. It's not like a one time. It's like, we got to talk about this all the time so everybody can kind of be on the same page.
Yeah.
I mean, people have done it successfully, but lots of people have done it unsuccessfully.
Yeah, and I think most of the time, the unsuccessful ones, it goes to what you just said, it's just the lack of maturity. And it's just, I mean, that's just the reality of just people in general. It's just the fact that like most people, I apologize, that most people,
that's going to be this kind of show.
That's my journaling and meditation alarm.
Uh-oh.
2 tools that I use to be so zen at. But and that's the thing that I know for me has just been the biggest benefit is just and again, I don't know, it's not a thing that involves the other person. It's just a journey of self-discovery. And then like the more I got in tune with myself again, the better my relationships were with everyone and stuff. Because again, I just didn't take things personal.
Yeah.
And one thing that you just mentioned as far as the child and stuff, that's one thing I also feel is like a driving point for me is that I try to be as conscious as possible of the fact that like I didn't have a situation where my dad wasn't home sucking me in each and every night. And what that plays on my daughter's head, even though she's smiling on the surface, I don't know how she's feeling internally.
Yeah.
So just making sure that I'm always having those conversations and just showing up as like, Dad cares. Dad's here. Mm-hmm. You aren't going to tell me everything, but when you do want to talk, by all means, you can never upset me to the point that I won't receive what it is that you have to, give me everything. It's that's the part that I think, if going back literally to the first question, that's the biggest struggle for me. It's just dealing with the emotional strain of knowing that, like, I don't know how she feels. You know? Me and Rob had conversations about this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I listen to you both. I have like so many thoughts. But it's like one of the things that I just been going through for the past couple of weeks is just realizing the idea of like how much plays in our head before we even talk to people.
Yeah.
I'm one person that deals with that kind of anxiety before, you know, when I'm seeing a missed call or something, I'm like, oh, I wonder what they want and all that kind of stuff. So I can only imagine the level of stress and everything that, you know, you guys may have gone through with these different relationships. But one of the things that literally changed my life, well, this week, was that it was this quote by a philosopher, Seneca, and it says, like, we're more frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in our imagination than from reality.
Wow.
Yeah, so basically, all that goes on in our head is really what we struggle from. And that causes more of the stress than what is actually happening. So, so I'm gonna have to, so what I have to do now is like stop and be like, okay, what's actually happening right now? Did anything happen yet? Like, am I stressing out already and nothing happened yet? So, yeah, I'm hearing that when I listen to you all. And then, and I really appreciate the mentioning of the struggle of the children that I wouldn't have thought about before, but just the fact that they have to deal with two different households and kind of be two different people themselves. And then also you guys dealing with being there enough without actually being able to live with the child. So this is a lot of good information for me personally.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
You brought up Seneca, Roxanne, and I didn't want to let that just happen and not speak on it. But and I didn't bring this up because I feel like it's a I don't know, it's for certain people, it's for a particular type of person. But me studying philosophy and Stoicism in particular, and that's what Seneca's philosophy is. He's a Stoic philosopher, and Stoicism and the idea of it has helped me out a lot, because the principles of Stoicism is that there is no good, there is no bad, everything's neutral, the emotions we attach to it. And the more and more I was able to see that, like, things for the most part are just neutral, you know, it's only the emotion I'm attaching to it. Again, power of choice. I'm choosing to be offended. I'm choosing to take offense and so on and so forth, or I'm choosing to engage. And it's like, once you see that it's just neutral, and like now that the ball's got knocked into your side of the court, what kind of like return do I want to have? I have control of that. That right there lifted a heavy burden off of me. You know, it's like, he's not personally attacking me. I'm choosing to believe she is. At the end of the day, that's not true. And yeah, Stoicism and people like Seneca, Epictetus, and things of that nature, those readings for me, it really helped me just like kind of ground myself and just say, hey, you know, like, again, life literally is what it is. Nothing more.
Wow. Yeah, this was really good. And I believe that co-parenting is possible. You know, it's possible. It can happen. And I'm so glad, Mark, that even though you and your daughter's mom didn't work out, that you're still in your daughter's life, and you're going to make a huge difference, you know, in her life when she's, you know, a lot older. Right now, a lot of things may be unclear for her, you know, about, she's like a teenager now, so they may be more clear than when she was 7, you know, but I think when she gets to become a woman, she's going to see the value that you were able to add to her life. So this is huge. So any person out there, mom or dad, you're co-parenting, it can happen. It can happen. I think you gave us some good information. I think the biggest thing I'm taking away is don't take it personal. You know, you just can't. You know, everybody's hurt and trying to figure it out, and they're going to lash out and all that. You cannot take it personal.
I do have one last anecdote before we wrap it up.
Okay.
So, and I can talk about this. So she's just recent. Matter of fact, on my anniversary day, it was the official day of her being divorced, right? She was formally married, and on September 22nd, that's when her divorce was final. So let's rewind a little bit back in time. I remember I was at work one day. It was about 2 years ago. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was working overtime, and my phone rang, and it was her. So naturally for me, I'm thinking something happened to my daughter. Like, why are you calling me at 4 o'clock in the morning? And she called to just really just vent and just needed to hear and just talk about her situation that she was going through with her former husband at the time. And to me, in that situation, because of how I show up, she felt comfortable. It wasn't a thing of, and by no means, I don't want her. Let me make that clear. And she knows that, you know what I'm saying? Like, we've literally, like, the whole attraction portion, that was out of the window a long time ago. Mm-hmm. But for so many times when we would have very difficult discussions and, you know, emotions were high and things of that nature, and just me kind of just like somewhat taking it. And I remember one time she says, "Why is everything so philosophical for you? Be normal." And I was like, well, "What's normal?" She was like, "Get mad." And I'm like, "Nah." Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't look attractive right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
In that moment of her being at, like, I guess, quote unquote, lowest of lows, she found comfort in talking to me. And to me, it goes because that's how I wanted to show up. So, like, that right there was like confirmation that all those years we felt like that relationship, she wasn't getting it. You know what I'm saying? That it was just it was like, no. You were just planting seeds, and each and every day you were just watering it by how you were showing up in that situation. So it's like, regardless of how emotionally attached you are to someone and so forth, you have to think, you have to begin again with the end in mind. How do you want to show up as an individual? You want to be that person that when they really, really, truly need you, they feel comfortable. They don't feel as if I show my vulnerability, he's going to attack me, or he's going to say, you should have stayed with me. You know, it's like, it's not about all that. It's about being there for one another, you know, because at the end of the day, if she's in her best version of herself, my daughter's good. And that's what matters most to me.
Yeah. It's good. Mark, that was so good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Steph, I appreciate it.
Cool.
So if you're watching us on YouTube, then subscribe if you haven't already. And also, if you want to follow us on Instagram, we are at Chat and Chew Show. And other than that, we also want to say goodbye and thank you for watching.
Goodbye.
Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Yep, bye.
This show was brought to you by the Chat and Chew Company. Music by Elwood Jones. Lyrics by Roxanne. Bring a Chat and Chew live event to your organization.